Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight. First of Cinder, possible violation of Godwin's law. Mythological archetype called the Sky, or Allfather. He segregated an entire group of people based on their darkness. Start with Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight. She's the Maiden of the Oath, proceeded to hunt an entire race into extinction, just for sport. Gwendolyn, from Sindarin, the Pale Secret, the Secret Maiden, an attack on a third group that took place in a firestorm, which qualifies as the literal definition of a holocaust. From Honey is Sweet, so love is honey hands, and bliss is the gift of release. God, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He is like the worst parts of Heihachi and Hitler. Way of Whites only. Wow. Okay, now, hear me out. In my defense, I made all those jokes before the world lost its damn mind. Though, I mean, really, who is the statue of Gwyn for? The alt-light? Welcome to the Game Table. I'm Fauntus, and this is What's in a Name, the language of Dark Souls. Today is the conclusion of Gods, where we explore the domains, definitions, and divinity of Dark Souls. We begin with one of the great old ones, a covenant leader and first of the dead, Gravelord Nito, from Quenya, neta, separated, deprived, or slain, and the suffix to, spirit, a spirit separated from body. It looks as though the Gravelord title might be literal. After all, the domains of sacrifice, judgment, and rebirth belong to others, which leaves Nito just the dead bodies. So as real-world archetypes go, this just so happens to fit in with Yama, specifically a version very particular to Buddhism, which depicts his realm of the dead as a never-ending bureaucracy. In order to see if Nito is representative of this version of Yama, let's review what we know about the hereafter in Dark Souls. When it comes to our spirit, all we really know comes courtesy of the shields wielded by the Imperious Knights in the Undead Crypt, which depicts Orma and Reeve from Quenya, Orma, the physical body, and Sindarin, Retha, to try or accomplishment. They review your physical life. That sounds pretty bureaucratic to me. Going back to Dark Souls 2, we look at the caretakers of the Undead Crypt. The Finito, Neto, with the prefix of Quenya, Fini, Weave, to finish with skill. The Weavers of Death indeed. And then we have the smallest of the group, the Milfinito, which is Finito, preempted with Quenya, Milia, the smaller weak. Inside the crypt, there exists witches and pyromancers known as the Ladia, from either Sindarin, Letha, released, or Luthia, the enchanters or casters. They worship a god of disease named Galib, from Sindarin, Gay, the terror, and Glib, drip, terror drip. Moving on. The Ladia abused their privileges and had to be punished. So who gets to make the call? The undead magic-spewing disease cultists have gone too far. Look no further than Agdine, from Sindarin, Egg, the peak or pinnacle, sharp or terrible, and Dane, the corpse. He's the top corpse, or he'd probably prefer the crypt guardian. No doubt, there will be some who will be very upset about this. As luck would have it, we've a god for that. Ketha, goddess of tears, from Sindarin, Ketha, to cause or bring about. Yeah, really. And that isn't the crazy part, because it's from the same root as Kaith, Kya, to cause, and Atha, ease, agree, consent. So Kaith is a goddess? You know what? That's cool, however she self-identifies. But I have to say, styling yourself a deity of mourning while simultaneously stirring the pot is some two-faced bitch shit. This does, however, raise some questions about the Sable Church and that whole Darkstalker's bride thing. When they say sister, is it a title, a relation, or is the whole operation just a front for a militarized lesbian commune? My response to such speculation is to uncomfortably change the subject to the etymology of the other primordial serpent, King Seeker Frampt. His name is made up from the roots fear, man, mortal, literally from breath of life, and amp, which means to hook, net, yeah, as in fishing, hook, line, and sinker. Fucking snakes, man. It gets worse. It's possible that both are also worshipped as literal snake gods, named Zinder, god of desire, from Quenya, Sint, the gleam or spark, and the suffix which is a singular suffix. In this case, it implies obsession. So Zinder is the spark of desire, the gleam of obsession. There's also Xandro, the god of greed, from Quenya, Senga, the compulsion or need, and Ra, to chase, pursue, or steal, the compulsion to steal, the need to take. Well, both of those seem wholly appropriate. And better news, to another deity breaking all sorts of gender barriers. Evlana, goddess of the hunt, from F, to be made aware, to come out, and Lana, athwart, against convention, a famous underdog, a maverick, very empowering. But the goddess with the most lady cred would have to be Nar Alma, the goddess of blood, from Quenya, Nar, red, and Alma, flower, the red flower. Well, that is certainly, menstrual. I mean, really, Georgia O'Keeffe does Alice in Wonderland. So, given such a deliberate example of feminine iconography, why is the associated covenant called the Brotherhood of Blood? I mean, come on. The foil to our brotherhood are the Blue Sentinels, who have a shield emblazoned with spirit trees, which represent Quella, god of dreams, from Quenya, quell, the fading or withering. And if that sounds familiar, it is also the basis of Quelana, from Quenya, quell, and Anna, gift, the fading gift, which just about sums up everything about her character. And speaking of appropriate names, we also get Queleg, from the quell, the failure or withering, and egg, which means piercing or fell or terrible. So she is the terrible failure, the piercing torment. It's also worth noting that in one of the earliest versions of Elvish, the word Queleg literally means corpse. So, that's delightful. And you think it'd be an easy segue to the next Lord Soul, but indulge me while I go on a seemingly unrelated tangent. Let's talk about Velka, goddess of sin, a deity alluded to time and time again, but except for an out-of-the-way statue located in Dark Souls 3, we never actually meet. We learn about her, though, through her clergy, who are known as pardoners. We learn that she tracks and forgives sin. We learn from spells that she is associated with sorceries and the dark. And from item descriptions, we find out that her faithful are renowned swordsmen who rely on intelligence. Her association with the dark implies her to be one of the forces behind the occult rebellion which targeted the gods. When considered with her ring of sacrifice, we find commonality in the same pantheon as Nito's Yama, a deity associated with life, death, judgment, and sacrifice, a deity displaced from their position following a fight with a lightning-wielding god who defeated an immortal dragon. The deity displaced was Varuna. Her usurper was Indra, who, along with Yama, originally were Vedic deities. That means they originated in the same cultures and traditions that would give us modern Hindu. Given a Vedic context, a life deity based on order, water, and the dark makes sense. For the rest of the Indo-European traditions, though, life would always be opposed to dark. The Far East incorporated her depictions with dualism, opposites part of the whole. In fact, Shingon Buddhism has such a dualistic view of life. Perhaps most relevant to our interests is a holy site that displays all these qualities, Angkor Wat, which we know better as the inspiration of Izalith. Time and time, we see that witches such as Zuli, Carla, and Beatrice are associated with darkness and the abyss. But then we have the Witch of Izalith, who seems never associated with either. We know that swordsmanship and judgment are usually associated with the followers of Velka. In Dark Souls 2, the witch's soul is held by someone literally called the Lost Sinner. Aldia is a pyromancy-spewing tangle of roots called the Scholar of the First Sin. Suliban has swords called Judgment and the Profaned Flame. Then we have the Ringed Knights, who along with the Dark Lurker are examples of dark sealed by fire, all of which suggest a connection between Izalith and Velka, reinforced with aesthetic choices, such as a black and gold color scheme, the use of hair as a catalyst, and the calling of followers demons. But it goes deeper, with game mechanics and design decisions, like Izalith items giving a bonus to dark, a pyromancy flame found after defeating an exile sentry. Then in Dark Souls 3, the only way to learn Quelana's pyromancies is through Carla, a child of dark. All these indications draw to this one conclusion. Velka was the Witch of Izalith. So what's their names say? Izalith is from Quenya, Ista, the knowledge or wisdom, and Lith, ash. While Velka comes from Quenya, Velka, flame. Flame comes from the knowledge of ash. Velka comes from Izalith. So let's review the Pantheon. Indra is Gwyn, Yama is Nito, Varuna is Velka. So what about that last Lord Soul? Well, a few years back, Terramantis and Dave Klein already identified Manus as relating to a Vedic deity named Manu, the father of humanity. Etymology-wise, I've connected Manus to the Elvish Manu, the departed, or Mandos, the dread imprisoner, which makes this 4 for 4 on Lord Souls. So is that it? Japanese versions of Vedic deities with Elvish names? Well, that is crazy specific and something of a reductionist summary of a nuanced distinction that I've tried to make. No, this is something more, and understanding the role that Shingon Buddhism plays is just one key aspect. What's the big picture? Well, for that, you have to wait until next time, in Episode 9, Legendarium. Thank you for joining me. This is the Game Table. I'm Fauntus, and you have watched What's in a Name? The Language of Dark Souls. I'll see you next time. Okay, one more thing before we go. I want you to look at this picture of one of the drakes from Dark Souls 3 and the Rankin and Bass version of Smog. Crazy, right? Alright, I'll see you next time.